What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we've got a lot of price action both in crypto, broader markets. We've had the CPI data release. We've seen Ethereum break out of its 2-month range. We see Bitcoin attempting to break out of its 2-month range as incredible volatility is happening in the markets right now. The CPI data just came out 7 minutes ago. I tried to record some of the initial reactions of what the market was doing on the 1-minute time frame as the data was being released. It's essentially been a complete washing machine. But amazingly enough, last night we saw Ethereum break out of this 2-month range. You can see this volatility that has happened this morning, getting close to being a back test happening in there. Look at how volatile that's been in there, and then reclaiming all of it in this wick right here. With the Ethereum price chart, it's actually fighting on that 200-day moving average. If you guys recall, it had been over 200 days since we had seen the 200-day moving average. We hit it, and then the very next day is where CZ Binance goes after FTX. So it was like a catalyst event just magically showed up. So that's where I was talking about, is it magical unicorn fairy dust, puppet masters pulling the puppet strings, a simulation, God, what is it that makes these things happen, that you go 200 days and then you have the big massive catalyst happen in here? Right now, we're back at that, battling currently right now, poking our head through it on a incredibly volatile day, right? What are the chances we get here and on this exact day, it's a volatile day with broader markets. So we could see a backtest of some sorts happening in here, whether that's good enough or not. But we're going to watch and see how today's action ends up playing out. But officially, we have gotten through there finally. So I'm excited to see that has happened for Ethereum. That's usually a good signal for the rest of the market. But here, let me play a little bit of what happened as the CPI data was released. Hey, what's going on, everybody? All right, we are now watching it live. We just got the CPI release. We could see an initial breakdown happening in the DXY, a complete recovery happening in here. It looks like the Dow Jones just completely flipped over on itself. I think the projection was supposed to be 0% month over month. What do we end up getting? Oh, wow. We just got a negative CPI release month over month. So we hit numbers. So there we go. We did not miss. For inflation, CPI was a good number. We could see stock market incredibly volatile leading into this moment. We're seeing a downward hit happening in here. Interesting to see that because we're seeing that CPI is cooling off. So this is the first 1 minute after the data release. We could see the volatility happening in here on the 1 minute time frame. It was funny. If you look at it, really the moment leading up to the CPI data release, the last couple of minutes, it was a breakdown. And then the second the data was released, a break back up. However, the market got what it was looking for. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. We'll give it a moment to breathe and see what happens. All right, here we go. We are now just a couple of minutes later. It has now been 4 minutes since the data release. Look at that DXY turning back over and heading down. Is it going to set a new low? It just did. So now we're getting a new low set over here on the DXY, 10273. What is that? Well, we have now exceeded beyond the peak that was set back there on the C19 sell-off. So we have now exceeded that level. Now at 102,665. So we are seeing a breakdown happen over here in the DXY. It seems like the market had to take a minute there just to kind of figure out what it was going to do. And we're seeing it happen live now. Crypto incredibly volatile over here. We've got Bitcoin in the green. It's been kind of a washing machine over here, but we're still watching the DXY US dollar currency index just completely plummet. So, all right, this will be interesting. We'll keep an eye on it. All right, and that concludes the first 7 minutes of watching CPI get released. Now we're 17 minutes into it, and we can see, okay, we do have a break. It seems to be holding down in here. We'll look at it on a smaller time frame to see what's happening in here. It looks like it's a break, right? So the initial reaction after the CPI data release happened was a big fat green candle to the upside. Since then, it has now turned over. Look at crypto. Crypto is now turning green, slowly but surely. And the Dow Jones Industrial Average has kind of reclaimed average pricing. You can see how in the couple of hours leading up to the CPI release, the price moved up. I was in text messages saying, you know what? Every time we see these moves happen to the upside prior to these data releases, we end up getting like big fat downside action. It's like the market kind of prices in shorts. And then boom, right back to average pricing right in here, but not looking so much like a breakdown, but still kind of holding itself in here. Whereas the US dollar currency index did go through an actual breakdown happening in here and took out a level from nearly 3 years ago. So we've been talking about this DXY for a long time. We just keep shuffling down. We keep breaking down in here. One would imagine some temporary support will come in for the DXY at some point. These are usually pretty good places for that to end up happening at. But like we talked about a couple of days ago, I did not think this level would actually end up being any kind of support. However, looking down in here at around 100, the general area of 100, 99.5 to 100.5, that area seems the most interesting for any type of support to come in. But looking back to crypto, we see volatility still in here. Ethereum trying to decide what it wants to do. And Bitcoin having that big whack in there. We'll take a look at that on the 1 minute chart. Look at that chaos happening in there. So what we were talking about, these CPI releases, they come with a lot of volatility happening in them. But we can see this whole market is slowly starting to turn green. Just a couple of minutes ago, nearly everything was red. Now we're slowly starting to turn green in here. And now we can see that the US dollar currency index is starting to turn over even more and head down. So the market's actually open in 26 minutes from me talking right now. I'll probably get this video out close to when markets are opening. This is just going to be an initial reaction to CPI release to see what markets are doing. We see a breakdown happening in the DXY. We see stock market futures up. And look to the right side of the screen now for crypto. Almost most things have gone green now at this point. So what do we have? We have our first negative CPI number month over month. We can look through all of these dating all the way back till the C19 time period. We've been dealing with positive inflation numbers. Boom. For the first time, we get a negative happening in here, which takes the year over year number down to 6.5%. So the trend down continues. You look at the last several months and see last month in December, we were at 7.1. November, we were at 7.7. October at 8.2. So now we're down to 6.5. So what you'll hear a lot of people say is, yeah, we're all celebrating 6.5%. Which is a dishonest thing to say, and because you're saying you're spitting out the data in the way that you want it to sound. You want it to sound bad. Yeah, of course, 6.5% annual inflation, but what's the trend? What are we getting for the last several months? If you took the average of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these last 5 months, you're at an annual CPI a year over year of 2.16%. The average of these 5 numbers down in here gives you a 2.16% annual inflation. The thing is, we're still working into the equation all of these numbers that are here. These higher numbers are still included. But if you kept this trend up, where you just kept printing these kinds of numbers like we have for the last 6 months, you're going to end up with a 2.16% CPI. And even if we included August, which was 0, so if we take the last 6 months, you actually have a 1.8% CPI. So if we're looking at year over year and we sit there and we whine and say 6.5, we're all celebrating 6.5. Well, what we have to acknowledge is for the last 6 months, we've averaged a 1.8% year over year inflation. So do this for 6 more months. That CPI is going to be down to 1.8% by July. And wham, man, that DXY just keeps going. Crypto green, Ethereum going back for a push, Bitcoin 18,300. All right, so I'm going to keep it short. That's just what CPI is, guys. That's the initial reaction to the market. Market gets a little crazy right there as that data gets released, but so far so good. And I think the big telltale on that as a positive thing is that DXY is getting smashed. So the US dollar currency index is taking a whooping. And that's really kind of what the concern was, if that would be a support test coming in there. So now these last 2 big supports that people assumed would be the hold right there at about 103, 104, and then again here at 1029. Now we've cracked through that one as well, which, like I talked about, as we were heading into 2023, we were heading in with different circumstances. When we were heading into 2022, Bitcoin was topping. We were starting to see the roll up of the DXY start to happen in here. As we head into 2023, we're seeing it head down, and boom, here we are only 12 days into January, and boom, we just got another big breakdown. So, all right, I'm going to release this really quick, and then we'll take some more time, and I'll put together something primarily focused on crypto, or maybe we'll do a live stream. I'll keep an eye on it and watch what the market does, and I'll catch you guys again later today. So, all right, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.